going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be talking about the surprise first look at DLC 4 in Zombies, the new world event in Black Ops Cold War, and even a possible tease of what to expect from Treyarch over in 2022. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and also as a reminder, I'll be playing with every single one of you guys out there that sends me proof of using code Dynamite over at gameradvantage.com. Their link is, of course, down below in the description. My question for you guys is, what perk do you guys want to see come back or become an actual perk in Cold War within Season 6, a brand new perk altogether, similar to Elemental Pop, or a fan favorite perk that we all loved in Black Ops 4 that's never returned? You know, my idea right now is Winter's Wail would work fairly well, but they have made it clear that for the DLC cycle of Cold War Zombies, they wanted to add in perks that aren't really about buffing your health or even your weapons, but are more about survivability, and that's kind of the vibe we got from Tombstone, Mule Kick, and even Death Perception. But before we continue on with DLC 4 and Cold War, let's go and thank the sponsor of tonight's video. Now, tonight's video is sponsored by Mythia.com. Mythia is a debit card made for gamers by gamers, which is the first of its kind. You can earn rewards to get free games as well as PlayStation 5s, Xboxes, headsets, and even more gaming accessories. Every time you use the card, you get a reward, and the rewards are random, so you have to check the app to see what you won. I'm crossing my fingers you guys can win that PS5 you all probably want. There are even new challenges every single week that you can take part in to win even more prizes. It's a secure and protected system as it's FDIC insured through Piermont Bank of up to $250,000. So yes, it is safe. Don't forget there are no monthly fees or minimum balance requirements as well. This is definitely a really unique opportunity that I also haven't heard of until recently, and you can also team up with friends for even bigger prizes. You can add friends to your party on the app and earn rewards together. Join forces to tackle bigger quests and get even better gaming rewards that may suit your needs, whether you play solo games, multiplayer, or if you need some other accessories for your brand new gaming setup. But if this is something that you're interested in, you can check it out with the special link down below in the description to start earning rewards today. Thank you to Mythia for sponsoring tonight's video. Now back to the video, we surprisingly got 3 different teasers for the final round-based map in Cold War Zombies, and they were spread across Treyarch's different social media channels. We have one on Twitter, one on Instagram, and one even on Facebook. I'll have all their social medias linked down below in the description. Make sure you guys stay up to date because different types of marketing is dropped across some of their different platforms. They did that already with Season 5 Reloaded, where they didn't drop a traditional trailer for the new content that released, but instead they posted mini clips and small gameplay on their Instagram, even their Facebook, which they didn't post at all over on Twitter or even YouTube. So sometimes that happens, just a FYI. But the first teaser does say, Weaver, this is the place, we must make our stand here, Ravenov. So we'll probably get a conclusion with Ravenov's story arc, which began back in Firebase Z. But this does confirm that Redlight, Greenlight from the campaign in Black Ops Cold War will essentially be the map that they repurpose over for the final round-based map. And I'm totally okay with that. We talked about that a couple of videos ago where we went over some new intel that does reveal that the next map is set in Ukraine. And in the campaign of Cold War, the only version of Ukraine that we see is in Redlight, Greenlight. We got a glimpse of it towards the very final mission as well, but this map definitely fits with what they're going to be going for in this dark Aether-centric map. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But the second teaser does say Kravchenko plans to open a special gateway. They are trying to find him. And by him, they're talking about the Foresaken, which Omega has great interest in. They want to go ahead and find the Foresaken, possibly kill him, to fully understand what's going on in the dark Aether itself. They want to kill the hierarchy, the higher power who is in charge behind the scenes. And we haven't seen the Foresaken just yet, but I'm sure we'll get a glimpse of him or even maybe a boss fight towards the end of DLC 4. What they could do though is drag things on a little bit to where we don't go into the Dark Aether or face the Foresaken himself until Treyarch's next game. This game's gonna set the foundation for this new storyline, but we won't get an epic conclusion or an actual deeper dive into Dark Aether until maybe Treyarch's next Zombies experience. Totally unclear right now, but we do get a glimpse of the machine itself that we're going to be using to quote-unquote find Zykov. And I say quote-unquote because the intel for the past couple of months has had Zykov manipulating Peck into believing that Zykov could be saved, and Zykov is apparently an important character that knows how to kill the Foresaken. Little do we all know, Zykov doesn't really exist. He went into the Dark Aether in the D Machina intro cutscene as we saw from Project Endstation, the Second World War, but he never really came back out, nor did he even survive in the Dark Aether itself. It's been hinted that the Foresaken himself is manipulating Peck and other people into making people believe that he's somebody else, similar to the Shadow Man back from the old Aether storyline. So when we actually quote-unquote save Zykov, let's see what happens with that, right? Will the Foresaken pop out? Will we face him? Lots of questions with it, but as we learned in the intel recently, Requiem is trying to kind of one-up Omega and quote-unquote save Zykov before Omega does. So I'm curious whether Forsaken's gonna play a role in this at some point throughout this map. We also got another teaser that says Omega's next operation is already well underway. They have been constructing for months. So I love how this gives us a bit of a timeline as to how this works. They've been working on DLC 4 for the last few months, and recent intel suggests that a month from now is when this operation will begin. So that's gonna be the release date of DLC 4, of course. Looking at the release date though, in case you guys were still confused, October the 6th is supposed start of Season 6 for Black Ops Cold War, multiplayer zombies in Warzone, but of course delays are possible, you never know, and considering Vanguard drops November the 5th, Season 6 will come out and not really be in the spotlight for that long, so they probably want to drop this map before the mid-season updates of Cold War, which there may not even be a mid-season update. As I made clear in a previous video, similar to Modern Warfare last year, there was a Haunting of Verdansk event that went on, which kind of replaced the quote-unquote mid-season 6 Reloaded updates, and we might see a similar thing happen with Cold War, where the Hallows Eve event, as they already teased, could be the big mid-season update towards the end of October that replaces Season 6 Reloaded. However, we did get a tweet from verified insider, the Modern Warfare 2 Ghost. Season 6 Reloaded does drop the day before Vanguard does. So I asked you guys, right, does it make sense to drop DLC 4 for round-based the day before Vanguard, or will this map drop at the beginning of Season 6? You know, we could all wonder that right now, but looking at some other possible dates, I mean, the season begins on the 6th, as it usually would, right? Late Wednesday night. Maybe this round-based map comes out October the 13th, or even the 20th, and then Season 6 Reloaded or the Hallows Eve event begins on the 27th. Last year, Haunting of Verdansk did begin October the 20th, or around that range at least, so a little bit before Halloween, but also not too close to the release of the next Call of Duty. I'm sure they'll find a way to really plan this out to make sure everything makes sense, but all in all, right, how much content could they even save for Season 6 Reloaded if a new Call of Duty releases a day later? Probably not too much content, right? So I'm sure they want to space out DLC 4 and then Vanguard. Because Treyarch is working on Vanguard Zombies, you guys all may be wondering, right, you know, what's going on with their DLC schedule? Will they release DLC 4 and then a couple of weeks later we have a launch map for Vanguard Zombies as well? Totally plausible. Right now, I think it's fair to assume that maybe Vanguard drops with an Onslaught type LTM for zombies, just a mode you can play on some of the multiplayer maps, and then Season 1, when that releases in late November, right now it's rumored to be November 23rd, maybe that's when we end up seeing the first actual Vanguard Zombies map. Unless Treyarch has had time to fully polish a launch map for Vanguard already while working on DLC 4, the future is definitely unclear for how Treyarch's going to manage all of the zombies content at once. On top of the Outbreak Survival LTM coming out soon, a lot is still in the cards and on the table for Cold War Zombies, so Treyarch has been hard at work with what seems like just an endless cycle of them being on crunch and working on projects back to back to back, intertwining with one another. They went hard on Black Ops 4 the best they could with 3 years development, and still there were issues, right? A scrapped campaign, reworked multiplayer that used to be like Overwatch, Zombies released broken, and then after Black Ops 4 finally got finished or polished to a playable state, then their budget got cut. They had to work on COD 2020, take over from Sledgehammer, make that game into Cold War, which we have right now, and then right after Cold War, right towards probably the middle of the game's life cycle, they're being put in charge of the new iteration of Zombies for Vanguard on the Modern Warfare engine. So that's a lot of work, and they probably have even more going on that we don't even know about behind the scenes. So with that being said, leads to another topic, right? And that topic is what's going on with this repurposed campaign mission, right? Redlight, Greenlight. So not only has Zombies always been built off of repurposed campaign missions, reuse assets, I know Black Ops 3 and 4 set the bar a little bit higher with different atmospheres and different environments. Times are different, times have changed. Now Warzone is playing a really big impact on how Call of Duty development works, right? Making sure that everything's integrated to suit free-to-play Warzone players, to engage in another community entirely, to, you know, give some interest for players who don't usually play Zombies, right? The structure of Zombies entirely has drastically changed. That's just the way it goes. But people that probably play Zombies full-time or very hardcore maybe played campaign once or even not at all, so who cares that it's Redlight, Greenlight, right? How much does that really matter? Same argument can be made about Outbreak reusing Fireteam regions or combined arms maps. What does it really matter? Do you guys play multiplayer that much? If you only care about Zombies, do you actually play multiplayer that much to where it bothers you? Like, I get it, right? You can say that I'm a Treyarch fanboy, an Activision shill, say what you want, but Cold War was made under very extraordinary circumstances, with the pandemic, working from home, you know, with them juggling multiple projects at once. I mean, the fact that it wasn't even their game to begin with, it was Sledgehammer, so they had 1 year less of development on this game too. So many problems, right? Blame whoever you want, but the fact they're pulling off what they have with Cold War still blows my mind. I'm really enjoying the 6-season structure of content they provided for this game thus far. Now, I think people need to remember that DLC 4 won't just be a reskin of Redlight, Greenlight with some zombies slapped onto it. Just look at Firebase Z and Modern Totem for examples. Those maps may have reused campaign layouts, assets, buildings, lights, whatever the case is, but Treyarch still added quite a bit to those maps to make them feel like actual zombies experiences with areas that also weren't in the campaign. Now, how funny is it that we're gonna get a BurgerTown remastered before a Tranzit remastered? Yes, we are getting Bubby and the section of BurgerTown that was in Redlight, Greenlight over in DLC 4. So technically speaking, we'll be getting a portion of BurgerTown from the map Infection over in Advanced Warfare Zombies here in Cold War. So I'm curious if during the Easter egg of this final map, we'll end up getting to interact with Bubby. Maybe he'll help us out to kind of call back to DLC 2 back from Exo Zombies. Now, people could be mad all they want about reused assets, even though Zombies is built on that. But if you want to go back to the quote-unquote golden days that you guys might consider as Black Ops 3 or even Black Ops 4, those games are still fully playable. There's new custom experiences being made for Black Ops 3 all the time, so go back and play that, right? It's totally cool. If Cold War isn't your cup of tea, then why watch Cold War content? Why engage in Cold War tweets over on Twitter from Treyarch or Charlie Intel? Why waste your time hating on something that you clearly don't enjoy at all? Maybe you do enjoy it and you're in denial that Zombies is changing from one thing to another. It's evolved because of many circumstances, and seemingly Outbreak seems to be the future of what Zombies is. Outbreak will be the war zone of Zombies going forward, to where round-based still exists, it'll be alive and well, but that's not where the focus is really going to be for the foreseeable future. I also wanted to quickly mention the new Black Chest World event over in Outbreak, which I'm a really big fan of. It got added with Season 5 Reloaded, and it's one of my favorite world events that's in Outbreak right now. I think a good strat that Fajrati brought out to me earlier while we were playing is that the best thing to do right when you start the objective is stand by the chest itself and pinpoint where the 3 orbs actually are that float around to different areas of where you're at. Shoot them while they're sitting still, and then they'll start moving as you shoot them, but you can do a lot of damage to them while you're just in one place by the chest. Don't chase them, because that'll make things a lot more difficult. It's gonna spawn a lot of zombies around you as well, so maybe pop a ring of fire and shoot them as best as you can while they're sitting in plain animation in the distance, and as they come to you, keep shooting them. You can probably get them in one go, as you'll see here in the gameplay. Once you've gotten all 3 of them, you can open the black chest and get some rewards, along with a special message from Pytor, a character we learned about in the intel recently, who's been stuck in Dark Aether for quite some time, and yes, there is story relevance to this world event. Pytor is one of the Omega Group Specnas sent in, probably at Outpost 25, to do operations in the Dark Aether, but he then got trapped inside. After his squad died, he roamed around, saw the followers of the Foresaken gathered at one point, but didn't really do much. He nearly gave into despair, but encountered Sam Maxis that is, where she inspired him to keep going, even though his appearance had already started to mutate because of all the time he spent in the Dark Aether itself. After a while, he knows some people manage to escape the Dark Aether, but when they do, they get mutated into demented echoes, and that's how we see him over in this world event. Now, Pytor noticed that the chest does move from world to world, and of course the reasons we have over an Outbreak, and said, you know what, he has no issue helping us, the soldiers that we play as, with our objectives, and he decides to give us some free loot. So how generous Pytor is, right? Drop some love for Pytor down below in the comments. What a legend. And obviously we have a beautiful thumbnail showcasing his character. As you can see, people have been a little too lazy to probably read into all the backstory behind Pytor, understandably, right? There's a lot of intel in Cold War. It might not be your cup of tea to sit there and read everything, listen to all the audio, but these quote-unquote fans that hate on the system in Cold War probably would have killed for this much intel on our characters in some of the older Black Ops games that only had radios and ciphers. We weren't handed this CGI marketing with the cutscenes to tell us the story. There was a lot more lore involved in actually diving deep into the maps back then. I'm a huge fan of the fact that they have a lot of story impact with some of the world events they've added gameplay-wise, because Cold War took an interesting turn in terms of gameplay, where they focus more on the gameplay in this game than story, but it's still a very lore-driven game at the same time. They just, I would say, present that differently, because that was a big complaint throughout Black Ops 4. It was too story driven, not fun enough for gameplay. The Easter eggs were too difficult. Treyarch listened to that feedback and changed the philosophy behind how Cold War Zombies works. I don't have to even go in detail about what quote-unquote real content is. I mean, look back at Black Ops 3 even. You got one map pack every 3-ish months, and that's all you got. There were no weekly updates. There were no big battle passes, road maps. We didn't get that. And now that we have that, now I feel like we're beyond spoiled to this day. You don't have to like Cold War. If you follow me for a while or listen to my podcast, you know that I respect all opinions. That's what we have to do as good human beings. But looking at, from an objective standpoint, what content is, we've gotten more content in this game than we could have even dreamed of back in some of those older Call of Duties like Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3. Now, I did want to point out that teasers have already popped up from some familiar suspects in the Twitter scene about a Vanguard Zombies mode, playing zombies on a map like Red Star. So all I'll say is I would not be surprised to see them bring something like Onslaught, where you can play some basic round-based zombies on some of the multiplayer maps with no Easter eggs involved. You know, bringing a more polished version of Onslaught, which, by the way, has gotten a lot better over the past couple of months. Bringing that back for Vanguard, to me, makes a lot of sense. It adds more replayability for the game itself. But then Outbreak and some of the larger regions, right? If they have some massive ground war maps in Vanguard, that works. But then also looking at the Warzone Pacific map coming out in late November, it'll bring new anti-cheats, it'll bring a whole new Battle Royale experience that is not a Verdansk reskin. I have no issue with them going ahead and saying, all right, let's reuse some of those regions and sections of that map and add a new version of Outbreak. I could definitely see that happening. I mean, what I could really see in 2022 is them making Outbreak the Warzone of Zombies, making a separate application, completely free to play. I think that's been the whole point of the free access weeks that we've gotten for Cold War. Some out there will say, oh, the game is dead, that's why they keep doing them. I mean, a lot of games out there have free access weeks, and doesn't mean the games are dead. Cold War is still, by the way, according to Charlie Intel, the best-selling game of 2021, and that's been the case for the entire year. Clearly there is success in this. If a game is ever dead or the player base dies, the publishers just stop supporting it entirely. We kind of got a glimpse of that towards the end of Black Ops 4. People weren't playing that much, it just stopped supporting a lot of the game altogether with Blackout, with zombies. That's how things work. These free access weeks for Cold War really setting the bar for a free-to-play zombies experience and laying the groundwork out for how that could work. They want to see the influx in players when they make zombies free. Now, next week we will be seeing the Outbreak Survival LTM be added to Cold War, and it'll probably wrap up a majority of the post-launch Outbreak updates that we've gotten. Armada is supposedly the last region being added in, which is kind of upsetting considering there are a lot of other areas that could work in Outbreak, including some areas of the Ural Mountains, which never got added to either Fireteam or Outbreak. But if Armada is the last region, then so be it. It's a great addition to the game. I've been enjoying it. Hopefully enjoy the gameplay in the background as you guys saw. I think more LTMs for Outbreak would make the mode even a little bit better, which we'll probably end up seeing in Vanguard or even Treyarch's next game. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on our first teasers for DLC 4, the final round-based map? How do you feel about the new world event with the Dark Chest over in Outbreak? And also, what are your thoughts on the possible tease regarding a Vanguard Zombies mode? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everyone.